syndicated film and game reviewer. I have the site Skewed and Reviewed, and I've been talking at panels for, 10 years now, I think. Do about 6 or 7 conventions a year, and I also appear on a couple of radio shows, write some books, that sort of thing. And we are going to look now at the films that are being put together for the next 3 to 5 years. Most of these films are not before the camera yet. This is all, theoretical. This is what announced, this is what is planned, and I do caution you some of this is subject to change. This has been verified to the point of at least what I'm telling you now is the most accurate news as of the other day. As in Hollywood, no, things can change on a moment's notice for no reason. But this has all been verified with sources who've been extremely accurate. There was one convention, they were tracking my accuracy, and they apparently told me it's roughly at 88% right now, which is not bad when you're looking 2 to 3 years ahead. So, anyone here fans of Babylon 5? Yay! I got a update this morning from J. Michael Straczynski, who's the creator of the series, as to the future of Babylon 5. And I will now read this to you. Now, as you know, the direct-to-DVD film Babylon 5: The Lost Tales sold considerably more than even their wildest expectation of Warner Brothers. There was talk that he was trying to get the second volume installed and going. Before the writer's strike, apparently one of the Warner Brothers executives said something along the lines of, well, we're not worried about the writers, we can keep them in line. And the strike hit. Now, this is what he said. Basically, you know how what they were looking at is they gave him $2 million to make the movies. Now, this is about what an episode of Enterprise or Stargate was running, so he's having to do these things on the cheap. Babylon 5: The Lost Tales was commissioned at a $2 million budget to yet again, one more time, test the waters for Warner Brothers that Babylon 5 did indeed have drawing power and has a large fan base. We did that and once again proved what we could do with that. And even though, as with Babylon 5, Legend of the Rangers, we didn't have a lot of money because there's a concern amongst Warner Brothers and their foolish idea that is there really an audience for Babylon 5? The studio still has yet to grasp the magnitude of what they have in Babylon 5, and despite record sales of DVDs that grossly outperform even their wildest studio expectations, they still believe that there's not an audience for Babylon 5 and it's therefore not worth investing significant amount of money in. Of late, there have been more discussions from Warner Brothers about doing more Babylon 5 DVDs again, however, at a low cost or doing them on cable with minimal investment and keeping the budgets down. For the last few months, I have given this subject a lot of thought, and this is the conclusion I've come to. Babylon 5, as it currently stands as a 5-year story, is beautifully capable of standing on its own. If anything else, it could be continued from that story, and it should be something that adds to the legacy of Babylon 5 rather than subtracting from it. As well-intentioned as Rangers and Babylon 5: The Lost Tales were, and as enticing as it was to return to those familiar waters, in the end, I think they subtracted more from the legacy and add to it. Now, while I do not regret having made them, because I needed to go through that to get to the point where I am now for psychological reasons. But from where I sit now, I would not have made them again. So let me clarify something for the fans. I've let everyone up here know that I am not interested in doing any more low-budget Babylon 5 DVDs. I am not interested in doing any more low-budget cable things or smaller computer games. The only thing that I am interested in doing related to Babylon 5 at this point forward is a full-featured film with a big budget. It is that or nothing, and if that is nothing, then I'm cool with that, and I am prepared to walk away and let the original stand on it. I am not lobbying for this, nor am I asking the fans to write in, nor should you ask the fans to write in and demand this, because such campaigns really never have that much impact in the end. That is simply the position I've taken up here, and Lord knows I don't lack for other things to do. And so he goes on to talk about some of his other projects. So officially, Babylon 5 is dead unless Warner Brothers decides to pony up for the film. Very unlikely, because the last time that was approached for a film called The Memory of the Shadows, the producer that was financing it demanded recasting of the major roles because they wanted more bankable people in the positions, because they did not think the Straczynski walked in and the whole thing fell apart. So once again, you have a studio that just doesn't understand what to do with what they have.
Did these people not watch TV?
Well, remember, Serenity still hasn't made any money. The movie was a colossal failure.
Not worldwide.
Yeah. The movie barely open in third place with a $9 million take against no competition. Now, it did well on DVD, and we'll discuss that a little later, because basically the X-Files is finding itself in the same position right now. They opened it up against Batman, which is on pace now to shatter Titanic's record and become the biggest grossing film in history. And they wonder why people didn't show up for the X-Files. Well, you take 6 years off, you open it against a competition like that, you don't promote it properly, it gets a $12 million opening, but it only had a $30 million budget. It'll probably do well overseas. The last film did twice as much overseas as it did domestically. It will probably sell very well on DVD, because basically Chris Carter and the cast have said, they had David Duchovny on the radio show I appear on last week, and he said flat out, yeah, we've basically been told to keep 2012 in mind if this is a hit. And for those of you that follow the series, December of 2012 was the date the aliens arrived in Endgame, End of the World, so they are at least keeping that in mind.